So, fruition comes from the Latin word fruor, which means to enjoy. So, this league is going to be enjoyable. It's in the etymology. It has to be true. Hello, folks. Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU, here for another Legacy video, and today I have been challenged to make Forced Fruition work in Legacy. I'm going to invert my normal order of operations here and talk about Tales of Adventure at the beginning of this video so everyone sees this, as there is a really cool time-sensitive offer on the table here. So, if you are a first-time shopper at toamagic.com and in the next 24 hours from the release of this video, you place a $100 or more purchase from their website, use my promo code ThrabenU, which normally saves you 5% on your order, you will also get a free collector pack of Edge of Eternities with your qualifying order. So again, within 24 hours of this video releasing, $100 order, use my promo code at checkout, you get a free collector pack of Edge of Eternities on the house, courtesy of Michael Caffrey, owner of TOAMagic.com. There is no cap for the number of customers that this will apply for, so get in there, place your order, get yourself a free pack. And the promo description at checkout will say includes free collector pack. That's how you know that it worked. All right, on to the magic goodness. So Chris challenged me, build a legacy deck around Forced Fruition. Now, this is a powerful but incredibly dangerous card that usually is reserved for the commander tables due to its mana cost of 6. We're going to try to cheat that, though. So, whenever an opponent casts a spell, that player draws 7 cards. So this is opponent only, this is not symmetrical. So we can't use this as our own combo engine like we might something like Echo of Eons. So instead, we need to stop our opponent from winning the game while they cast approximately 6 spells before they deck out. It's probably going to take 6 or 7 spells to have the opponent deck out. But what if we made it so they didn't need to draw their entire deck to lose the game? And that's where my idea for this deck comes in. We are going to use both Orcish Bowmasters and Sheoldred the Apocalypse as ways to finish our opponents faster. So let's imagine that our opponent casts a spell. They draw 7 cards, they lose 14 life. They find a removal spell for Sheoldred in those 7 cards. They cast a removal spell on Sheoldred, they draw 7 cards, they lose another 14 life, and I go pew 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 and do a happy little dance as we do the thing. That is kind of the theory behind this deck. I think you could also try to go a fast mana route where you go, Ancient Tombs, City of Traders, stock ups, artifact mana, that sort of stuff. But I think that sort of deck has a hard time control. What on earth is my cat doing? Hold on. It wasn't the cat, it was the girlfriend. I falsely accused my cat, and I apologize for that. Anyway, I think the fast mana version of the deck has trouble controlling the game, and it is my goal to have a bunch of death touch creatures and removal spells to make it so that if our opponent is playing a fair creature-based strategy, I can buy a few turns to win the game. Now, the innate problem with something like Forced Fruition is that it is going to be card negative to get it into play one way or another. Either we're blowing a bunch of artifact mana to get it into play, or we are going to use some enabler to put it into play, like Show and Tell. And, there's Reanimator in the format right now, so bad things can, in theory, happen when I cast a card like Show and Tell, and hence the kind of controlling shell to staple things together. And hopefully we can get a couple of Forced Fruition kills today, but it is going to be an uphill battle. Because we are dedicating 8 main deck slots to this combo, Show and Tell plus Forced Fruition, we are going to be a less good control deck than normal, and some number of things that normally might be in the main deck, even something like Cling to Dust, are instead going to be in the sideboard, which I made 14 cards because I didn't put in the last card that I was going to do. There we go. Little bit of a respect on some Urza Saga tokens there. And with that, I think we're going to hop directly into the games here. Hopefully some of my powerful generic blue-black cards can hold together this shell, and we do the thing a couple of times. Let's battle. I have an okay opening hand. I have a Show and Tell to pitch to a Force of Will. I have 2 lands. I have a Ponder to look for something to put in off of Show and Tell, or alternatively, some early game interaction that gets me to Sheoldred. This is unexciting, but fine. It's not as good as, say, a random Tamiyo start. I think I'm going to go ahead and Ponder before I need to start thinking about Orcish Bowmasters, and I think my deck can be played off of basic lands in the early game. Yeah, Tamiyo and Brainstorm. I am down for that. Opponent fetches. Alright, it is a blue-black deck. So if this is Reanimator, I don't have things like main deck Cling. Smart decision. Main deck Cling to Dust. The only awkward thing about this land being Bloodstained Mire is if I want to Brainstorm to protect Tamiyo, I get wastelanded. I think that just means I don't intend on protecting this Tamiyo, and I'm still just going to play it. Yeah, I think I am just going to let that go, so I play around Wasteland better. I don't think I am going to Force of Will to protect the Tamiyo when I have a Goyf right here. Opponent can Brainstorm, that's fine. Ooh, opponent is Brainstorm locked. It would be cool to draw a land here. I can't really use a Surveil land in the face of the Wasteland, though. So let's go ahead and Brainstorm while Bowmasters can't impact me. We've got goodies. It is probably correct to just put back both Show and Tell since I do not have Forced Fruition right now. I'm going to do that. I'm going to fetch a basic swamp for sure. And then it becomes, do I want to get an Underground Seed to just play Baleful Strix immediately? Honestly, I think no. With Goyf and Sheoldred here, I think no. Opponent's got a Ponder now. Very fast shuffle. Opponent does not have the mana that they want. They've already shuffled. I think I'm just going to play the Strix to not turn on Daze this turn. Fantastic. Now I can fetch, and I believe I have 2 of both basics. Island, Swamp, I do. So now I will just go ahead and Brainstorm around a Bowmasters. I found Forced Fruition, but I put back Show and Tell. I guess I don't have this in play yet. I will go bam and bam. I'll pass the turn, but I don't need to fetch yet. Opponent's still just pondering. Alright, they've kept this card this time, meaning that they probably found their land. I go ahead and grab my other basic swamp, and we'll see what opponent does. I'm just going to let that resolve. So that's fine. See if we can get a Daze out of their hand. Oop, nope, no Daze. So I am now good to play one of these cards. I think I'm going to play the Sheoldred if I don't think that they have Daze right now. Alright. I'm not going to fight back over that. I just don't need to with this Goyf here. Alright, no fetch after the Brainstorm. I'll take 1. There's the Underground Sea coming back down. There's a Tamiyo, which I will just Fatal Push. Fatal Push Tamiyo. I'm fine Goyfing around Daze. Fantastic. Another Wasteland from my opponent. Yeah, that's fine. I might need to now protect this. I'll go ahead and pitch Brainstorm. And opponent forces back pitching a Daze, which I did play around. So now all those cards that were stuck in my opponent's hand forever are starting to hit play. We have seen a bunch of the Dazes go, so hopefully this sticks now. Very nice. That is a petty theft. That will set me back slightly. Take 1 in combat on my opponent's turn. Take your Kaito. Yep. So I'll go to 10, and then my opponent gets another card here from the Surveil ability. I think I just have to make my opponent sacrifice the Kaito here. Wow. That's rough. I'm at 7. Kaito surveils again. And Brainstorm. And then throws down a fetch land. Sort of an awkward turn. I have a Sheoldred, but my opponent just gets to tap it and stun it. Opponent fetches. And plays out the Brazen Borrower. So my opponent gets to tap down my creature. Like, they lose 2 from this. But pretty much just dead. So get stunned and get attacked for 6. I can't use this as a Surveil land, since my opponent did play out the Brazen Borrower. I only gain 2 life on my turn from drawing a card with Sheoldred. Brazen Borrower. Okay. Let's do this differently. Use this now. Let's Petty Theft that out of play. And I can play Brazen Borrower to block Brazen Borrower. Opponent loses 2 when they draw. There's a very awkward interaction that can happen here with Wasteland on Polluted Delta plus Daze. It's Bowmaster instead. Alright, I'm dead. Oh, that's very disappointing. I guess I could have just jammed stuff in the early game and not played around stuff and maybe won that one. Because my opponent stumbled for a long time. But, like, this is the cost of having those Show and Tells and Forced Fruitions in my deck, right? That I used resources to shuffle away. The correct thing to do is just cut those cards. But I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to try to live the dream at some point in this league and do the thing. And so I think I am just going to play to the board and call this good. I could also like cut Baleful Strix since it lines up poorly versus Orcish Bowmasters. So there's Show and Tell Forced Fruition, but no mana to speak of. I will mulligan that one. Yikes. That's non-basic land, and this is a Brainstorm, not a Ponder, so there is a huge chance that I just Brainstorm lock myself and don't play Magic. I think I would rather go to 5 and believe in my deck. Yeah, this is fine. I'll put back the non-basic land, and I think the Brainstorm, and then pass the turn. Opponent's got a land of their own. This is probably going to be a Tamiyo. It's a Ponder, and a very fast shuffle. I'm going to go ahead and grab one of each of my basics, going to 18, and I will play a Baleful Strix. Again, this card doesn't line up super well versus the timing of Orcish Bowmasters. We get Dazed instead, sure. Alright, well, we're actively playing around that. Sheoldred is cool with one more land. That's a land drop from the opponent. Forced Fruition. Not what I am looking for. Opponent doesn't have a threat in play yet, so it's okay to stumble for a little while, but I am already down some cards from the double mulligan. Opponent said no to Thoughtseize, and then played a land. I think I am comfortable brainstorming into Bowmasters because I have double Fatal Push. That's just a Force of Negation, sure. Opponent's got a Ponder, and another Wasteland, and a Goyf. That is resolving. I think I'm actually going to... Oh, it just showed me Force of Negation, though. Alright. So I will go ahead and Fatal Push this, and it works. I have my own threat to slam now. Not going to wait to play around Daze, because if I draw another land, I have another thing that I want to play already. I do get got by the Daze. Opponent Brainstorms. Plays an Underground Sea and a Tamiyo afterwards. I'll Fatal Push that out of existence. Spellbomb's fine. My own Tamiyo. Excellent. Cool. That all went very well. I think this matchup is largely going to devolve into the two of us playing Haymakers back and forth, and the first person who has a Haymaker stick wins. My opponent's Haymaker is much better than mine. And my opponent does not have things like Show and Tell and Forced Fruition in their deck. I think awkwardly I want to Sorcery Speed this and ping Kaito here. And then my opponent can't cash in like a Brainstorm or a Spellbomb draw with Bowmaster on the stack. Alright, Kaito just pluses. Dismember? Dismember on the Bowmaster, sure. I think I am going to take the hit this turn so that I can attack Kaito back, keep the loyalty in check, and maybe I draw a Bowmaster that lets me finish off Kaito. Another Forced Fruition. I'll send it Kaito. Kaito goes back to 1 counter. So I'll take 4. The opponent can do the Surveil thing again. Thoughtseize gets to take my Sheoldred. Yep. Another. Oh, it's Bitter Triumph instead. Yep. Well, in theory, I'm answering the Kaito. Nope. Alright, Brainstorm. You got some fucking work to do, pal. I mean, yeah. Put back one of these for sure. I guess I'll keep the other one. Fetch down to 8. Get Island. And play Goyf. Kaito doesn't get to just stun me this time. So this is a pretty big turn for the opponent. What was that? So that was a wasteland targeting wasteland so that they can fatal push my creature. Opponent is very good at having it. We get another Surveil 2. So I know a Brazen Borrower is coming. And at this point of the game, I can't find Show and Tell for Forced Fruition because my opponent's onboard stuff just kills me. That's very good. Yeah. I will not use Ponder's ability, and I decide whether I am killing Brazen Borrower or Kaito. I think it's Brazen Borrower. Kaito is the scarier card, but I am at 4 life, and I can chump block Kaito while I try to brainstorm through my deck. Ooh, opponent did not play Brazen Borrower. Lost the priority pass gamble there. Now I don't get to ping and kill Kaito because of hexproof. I'm going to go ahead and cast this now before my opponent gets another draw to hardcast a Force of Will. Opponent brainstorms in response. I'll ping there. Go to 9. Kaito just pluses. I have to block. And a Goyf. I think that does it. And another Goyf. So I'll brainstorm. Put back 2 Forced Fruitions. Ponder. Shuffle that. Yeah, so I can Fatal Push one of these, and then there are still 2 lethal threats in play. I will go ahead and concede there. Yeah, I mean, this is the difference between having 8 dead cards in your deck and not having 8 dead cards. GG's. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. If you want to see upcoming sets, if you want to understand commander brackets, or if you just want an awesome place to store all, and I mean all, of your deck lists, Moxfield is the place. You can organize all of your decks by folders, and you can even change the views. You like visual, they've got that. You like text, they've got that. Check out my Moxfield Pro Field if you want to see all, and I mean all, of the decks that I've been cooking up. All right. Card against Bryant, who is probably playing combo. 2 Forced Fruitions in the opener here is not great. This is not a Force of Will hand, but we have reasonable cards, and it's Bryant, so I think I'm going to put back Fatal Push. And I think I am going to Ponder and look for Force of Will here rather than play out the Tamiyo that I would do in the dark. Well, we found Fatal Push again. Lotus Petal. It is a gamble, which is presumably going to get Echo of Eons. There's a Mox Opal to discard, a Lion's Eye Diamond, Mox Opal. Yeah, so there's the Echo of Eons. Well, I don't have the Force of Will, Bryant, so you get it. I don't have the Force of Will the second time either. Land drop into LED. Storm count is 6, now 7. Nothing imprinted there, so that's just Metalcraft for Mox Opal. Dark Ritual. Dark Ritual. Mox Opal. Gamble. So this is, ooh, a Runehorn Hellkite. So that leaves 3 mana available. In multiple opening hands, I did not hit a Force of Will. Forced Fruition Show and Tell is very funny here. Dark Ritual. A new Gamble. Discarding an LED. Lotus Petal. Thoughtseize. Taking the Sheoldred. And there's the Tendrils. I am very dead. Consign for Storm Triggers is fine. Thoughtseizes are actively good. And then the Graveyard Hate is medium. It can do things versus Gaia's Will type lines, but is often not going to actually stop an Echo of Eons. So I don't need Fatal Push here. Don't need Sheoldred's Edict. Don't really need Brazen Borrower. And then I start deciding like how much of this stuff I want, and like I could substitute some threats for Goyfs. I think I am into Thoughtseize plus Surgical. This is also a free card. And then maybe I don't do these ones. I can like trim 2 Tamiyo or 2 Strix. I like trimming Strix. I don't really want to tap out for things. I mean, I'm okay with tapping out with things like Sheoldred. Since I specifically don't want to tap out, do I want Brazen Borrower over Goyf? I could buy that. And I'm going to keep the Show and Tell Forced Fruition because it's very funny. This is fine. I think I'll keep it. I don't think I get to play Tamiyo out on 1. I think I'm going to hold up Consign. That is a Thoughtseize. I do lose the Consign. And air quotes, I'm still using my mana this turn because I'm going to now have this entered tapped and do an Undercity Sewers. Brain Revealed can go to graveyard. I am good with Brainstorm here. Holy shit, deck. I will put back land, fetch. I'll ponder. Bowmasters is a great card if I don't die immediately. I think I will just shuffle. Okay, I mean, that's something to do next turn. We'll see if we just die here, though. There's Opal, fetching, Chromux, a Gamble. Gaia's Will notably under Chromux right now. Echo goes to graveyard. There's not a priority pass there where I get to surgical that, unfortunately. While I can cast this, I might just take the Gambles out of my opponent's deck. Gamble, X4. Oh, there's Entomb in here as well. Okay, got it. I do have Force of Will Ponder now. And then, like, some pretty reasonable stuff. Storm count 6, and I did 2 points of damage to myself, 4 counting the other stuff that I've done. So we're not very far away from just lethal tendrils being a thing. Okay, cool. So now I will Thoughtseize. That's kind of awkward. Yes, I am. I could take multiple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. My opponent can just echo from hand as well. Oh, I didn't click on one of the gambles. Whoops. That's my bad. I'm gonna take Beseech and pass. I'll let that resolve. This should not be in my opponent's deck, but it is also possible that, like, them drawing the gamble meant that they did not combo off. Alright, there's a fetch. I will 100% Force a Will that. And I'll play this out. 15. Guess I'll Thoughtseize. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I will just take the Entomb. Leave Echo in hand. Ponder. I think I leave Force of Will as my top card. Attack for 2. 13. Play land drop. Play Tamiyo out. Pass. And now Bryant has a draw 7 line that deals him 7 damage. And I would draw Force of Will. Alright, looks like he's going for it. Thoughtseize is a blank. Oh, that is a Thoughtseize himself to put Echo in graveyard. That's smart. So I know that I am drawing Force of Will. I now get a bunch of Bowmaster triggers and a Tamiyo flip trigger. There is a Veil of Summer. I will go ahead and Force of Will. That is a second Veil of Summer. That's real good. Doesn't work. I'll go ahead and ping my own Orc here. Force of Will does not do its thing. Veil of Summer happens. Still can't target Bryant. Ping my own Orc. Tamiyo flips, and then these remaining Bowmaster things don't actually do anything. So from here, we'll see if Bryant produces a win. Mox Opal. Romox is a Beseech imprinted there. Burning Wish into Tendrils does it. And my Surgical Extraction is not going to change that. And I will concede there. GG's. Obviously, I got a double click on the gamble. But I think this is going to be an uphill matchup. The second Veil of Summer was pretty gross. All right. Opening hand is fine if we are playing against something blue or fair, and a little weak if we are playing against combo. This is probably going to be a similar deck to what we saw last round, in that it is probably going to be Storm. This is a very bad Ponder, because I don't get to Ponder into Force of Will since my deck has a bunch of black things here, and I don't have just like regular old Thoughtseize to find. I think given that, I'm going to save this as a blue card to draw for Force of Will, and just intend on playing a Surveil land this turn. Second Vault. Alright, here we go. Lotus Petal. Oh, it's Necro. Sure. So there is a fail rate here. Thought this was going to be Black Saga Storm, but it was Necro Dominance instead. So my opponent draws their cards. Oh, it was a conservative line, not all in. I will fetch my Surveil land here. Sheoldred can go. Alright, so opponent discards a snow-covered swamp, and it goes to exile. So again, I can't ponder into Force of Will since I have so many black cards here. I think I am just passing the turn. All therapy resolve. I'm going to Bowmaster in response to that. King you. That makes Necro Dominance worse if my opponent is using it fairly. If my opponent is using it unfairly, it is very possible to win in response to the Bowmaster triggers on this stack. Oh, yeah, they are just taking out a fair known card there. Cabal Therapy does not go to the graveyard, cannot be flashed back. Okay, it is Saga and Necro in the same deck. That is Beseech the Mirror, sacrificing the Necro. There's nothing in graveyard here, so I don't really know what my opponent is doing. Storm count's not high enough to just go like Beseech, 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 Beseech Tendrils. It is a Wishclaw Talisman. Combo stuff for later. I still have not drawn a blue card to make this Ponder good, which is kind of frustrating. Yeah, this is exactly what I was talking about, right? I think I shuffle that. Got Forced Fruition anyway. I have one Undercity Sewers, yes. Alright, send in for 2. Yeah, not having game 1 Thoughtseize is so rough in these matchups. Now these Urza Saga tokens are larger than my onboard cards, and I can just like die to those. I've really whiffed on my cantrips. Cabal Ritual. Wishclaw Talisman activation, 5 mana available. LED. Infernal Tutor. Yeah, so if at some point I draw a random blue card, I get to Force of Will that. But I sure didn't. I imagine this is now deterministic from here. Just replaying things from Graveyard with Guy as well. Storm count is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep, okay. I can very easily see it from here. So a fundamental difference between this round and the last round is that my opponent has Urza Saga as a secondary game plan. I potentially need to respect that to some extent, although that might just be with a pile of Death Touchers. Consign is fine. Surgical and Cling to Dust style cards are fine. The Thoughtseizes are very good. Dress down for Urza Saga stuff is something I can consider. I think I am going pushes out. Again, I'm going to try to keep the show and tell Forced Fruition stuff to try to make it work this league. I go Brazen Borrower out. I think I'm going this out. Go Strix out. Sheoldred's Edict out. Play Dress Down to clear multiple Urza Saga tokens while also being something blue that pitches to Force, and then I decide whether or not I want this secondary stuff. I think the answer is no. I could go down like 1 Sheoldred. Oh, this is fine. This has an opening Force of Will. It has a Tamiyo that I get to just play before my opponent does anything else. Very much not the best if I get Thoughtseized and lose the Force of Will, but I don't think I am mulliganing this one to, play around Thoughtseize. Candy Trail can resolve. And now there's the question, like, do I wasteland my opponent's Vault of Whispers, or do I save that for Urza's Saga specifically? I think I will wasteland it. I could wait to make that decision until after I brainstorm, though. That was objectively a mistake. Because if I hit Thoughtseize, I could potentially Thoughtseize afterwards. Or I could just not brainstorm, actually. I could not brainstorm and then brainstorm in response to Thoughtseize or Cabal Therapy. I am going to do it. Yeah, there's a Thoughtseize I was just talking about. I'm going to bury Sheoldred, hide Thoughtseize on top, plus Tamiyo, and pass. And now this just becomes our win condition. We use Force of Will and Thoughtseize, and maybe rebuy them with Tamiyo's ability. Bowmaster, not bad either. Let's go ahead and Thoughtseize. Wow, just all mana over there. Okay, I think I'm going to take Thoughtseize minus return my Thoughtseize, play Underground Sea, Thoughtseize target you, take the duress, leave my opponent with all the mana in the world but nothing to do with it. They can Candy Trail to get 1 new card there. And the City of Traders is not doing a lot right now. Alright, plus there. I'll pass turn. I've got Bowmasters or Crack a Clue available as things to do. I think I will Bowmasters. Get the show on the road in terms of damage. I'll Ponder. Ooh. So I could Cameo minus, Thoughtseize you, take a Dark Ritual, Surgical Extraction, the remaining ones. I lose the Tameo if I do that this turn, though. I think I'm just going to pass on that. Let's just shuffle that. Land is pretty good here, because land just lets me crack a clue with my mana. There's 20 plus here, and pass. From Mox is fine. Mana is not the bottleneck. This lets my opponent start doing black mana things, but I don't think I want to Force of Will that. Alright, so opponent used Cabal Ritual there. I will crack a clue. Get Brainstorm. New Bowmasters. I am okay casting this here. Holy shit. Put back. Sheoldred. Show and Tell. Missed that. Let's these target you. I will take out that Infernal Tutor. Opponent now has all 4 Dark Rituals. Send in for 2. Opponent's at 18. Is this -7? It is -7. Cool. Yeah, I mean, that can resolve. That was just my opponent's draw for turn, so they hit Force of Will, but I know the exact contents of my opponent's hands. So yeah, there's Surgical Extraction. So, a lot of ways to do this here. We're gonna, yeah. I was going to be able to Thoughtseize a Dark Ritual and extract all of them. I can run this back. This is a reasonable assortment of spells that dies if my opponent combos off on turn 1. Resolves. Probably not hitting? Yeah. Force of Will is probably the thing you name in the dark there. So I will start on Thoughtseize and hopefully punch a hole. Adnaz and Infernal Tutor. I'll take the Infernal Tutor and assume that by the time Adnaz happens, I can answer it. That's a great draw from my opponent. So I am into Ponder here. Nope. Well, I'm going to play a Tameo, and then I'll pass. Urza Saga can represent a big mana boost from something like a Lion's Eye Diamond. There's Vault. There's Opal as well. Construct Token. On it can Cabal Therapy me. It is a Duress, which misses. I drew a land. I'll get my clue on the attack, which I think I need to crack immediately, because Adnaz is coming. Jack! Wow. Don't want Forced Fruition right now. Thank you. So there's another just fair token. On it goes Candy Trail. City of Traders played out. And that is a Gaia's Will actually just going on suspend. I'll take 5. That is a Magic the Gathering card that I just drew. Notably here, I probably lose to onboard construct tokens even if I play Show and Tell Forced Fruition. Crack the clue. Alright, there is Show and Tell Forced Fruition, which I can't play this turn. I can use a Bowmaster to get some blocks in. I'm going to get 2 triggers here, but that doesn't kill a construct token, so we'll go to face. And then we'll go to face again. Gaia's Will ticks down. Petal is fine. Our 5/5s now. Gonna take a regular old block here. Go to 8. Rest disrupts my own combo, which again loses to the onboard stuff. When it takes Forced Fruition and casts an Adnaz from above their starting life total, I imagine this means that I am going to die here. Alright, opponent has gone to 2 from their Adnaz. Mox and Mox Opal give them 2 mana to cast Cabal Ritual. So they get... Oh, Cabal Ritual definitely has Threshold here. So I believe that I am just going to deterministically be dead to that Tendrils. I am also at 8 life, because the constructs hit me. GG's. Alright, double Forced Fruition is not the best here. I could keep this and like rely on Brainstorm to put these back, or I could just mulligan this one. The issue is that I need my cantrips to both find land and get rid of bad cards in my hand. And I can't use them to, say, find land and find Show and Tell, I think, if I have multiple of these in hand. I think I'm just going to ship this one. I have just so many reasonable hands that don't look like that. Oh my god! All right. All right. That's just the sort of day it is, huh? That is objectively not a good card without the other half. I could keep it and try to use my non-cantrips to assemble the other half. I think I just have to draw something like a Tameo or a Goyf that can threaten to win the game on its own. We got Tropical Island into Bird. This is probably going to be something like a Nadu combo deck. I mean, that's about the best I could have hoped for as a draw, honestly. That kills a bird while taxing cantrips. And then I don't have to use my Sheoldred's Edict on that specific creature. Yeah, we are looking like Bant Nadu here. Yeah, cool. So no, oh gosh, that's great. So I think I'm going to go ahead and edict that. Please sacrifice a non-token creature. And we're going to do this before Wastelanding so that we play around days naturally. And then I think I take them off of Savannah. Their blue cantrips are already taxed by Bowmasters, so I think I take them off of the ability to remove my Bowmaster. Golden Safekeeper is solid. Gaia's Cradle as follow-up. Goyf. There's a show and tell. I'm going to just attack in with Orc Army token. I don't know that I want to trade Bowmaster right now. Once upon a time. Just finding a Windswept Heath, which is fine. That is a cantrip that does not literally draw a card. There's Nomads. Only have one Surveil land. That's not the worst. That gives me something versus a Nadu. And then with Orc Army. 15. So Nadu is scary, Green Sun is scary, Natural Order is potentially scary if my opponent is doing that with their specific build. Alright, no attacks. We're gonna stare at each other. Ooh, that's not bad. That's an Endurance. So I think while that is on the stack, I'm going to play Orcish Bowmasters. And I'm going to ping one of them. Probably doesn't work either way. I think I'm going to go Sylvan Safekeeper. Opponent lets that die. I think I let Endurance happen. I think I need to be able to Force of Will Nadu. There's no cards going anywhere. I'm fine with this happening. And we're chilling. Keen-Eyed Curator. Treasure Enchantment Land instant. That gets big very quickly. That might be scary enough when coupled with the Endurance that's already in play that I need to counter that, despite the fact that, like, land Nadu could happen afterwards. I'll take some damage. This is where I want my, like, really good top and mid-range stuff to happen. It didn't. I'm going to start sending in with both Bowmasters, I think. Oh fuck, move damage to Endurance, I'm an idiot. I played around that last turn and then just didn't this turn. That's why I Bowmastered with Endurance on the stack. I just threw away a very good body. Yeah, so there's the Green Sun for Nadu. So the Keen-Eyed Curator, I think, was very scary, but now my opponent just effectively wins the game here. I'm going to concede. I'm not going to sit through this. Just for giggles, what was the next draw? A Fatal Push. That would have cleanly answered the Keen-Eyed Curator. Decent stuff coming. I think this is a time where I just can't play Show and Tell because the Show and Tell puts in my opponent's combo. Because so often they are going to have half of it in play already. Yeah, I think this has got to go. And we will, for the first time, take out that combo from the deck. I think we have kept it in all of the other rounds. Do something like this. Dress down is another thing that I could consider. It's very unfortunate that the Nadu deck does not draw cards with its ability, so it plays around my Sheoldreds really, really well. This is highly interactive. I am fine with this one. I would like to use my Thoughtseizes to get rid of Nadus and Green Suns, Natural Orders if my opponent has them, that sort of stuff. Let's Thoughtseize. Off an Underground Sea. Okay, so opponent thinks I am Reanimator. Reasonable. I'm going to end up taking Nadu and Green Sun. Take Nadu now. Wooded Foothills. Or a basic into a bird. Do another Force of Will. Go ahead and Thoughtseize my opponent here. Oh, it is another Green Sun. I'm going to go ahead and take one of them. Goyf is not what I need right now. So my plan is to Fatal Push the Keen-Eyed Curator that comes down this turn. Oh, instead it is a green sun for more mana. I could Force of Will this, Fatal Push the bird, and try to stick my opponent on resources for a little while. Sure. And just kind of hope that my deck produces a threat. A Bowmaster would be a great draw to let me just kill that bird. And I can in fact ponder for it here. Yes, this is all fine. Bam, bam, bam. No shuffle, land drop, Fatal Push there, cameo there. And that was enough for my opponent to just concede the game, despite the fact that they had 5 cards in hand to my 0. Cameo is a dumb magic card. That obviously worked in my favor, and it seems like opponent is still going to have fairies in deck. This is totally fine. It is highly interactive. I get to Thoughtseize on 1 and probably do a removal spell onto, what is this? Use up to 3 target cards in graveyards. The owner of those cards shuffle them into their libraries. You gain 2 life. Wow, Nature's Rhythm as well. I haven't seen that one outside of Commander. I could take the Noble Hierarch, try to dodge a land drop for 1 turn, and then Sheoldred's Edict the bird. Or I can just take a Nadu now. 2 of them is rough. I think I'm going to try to cheese this game. No land, no land, no land, no land. Alright, so that is Nature's Rhythm. Getting a Dryad Arbor. Sheoldred. Let's kill one of these. Please sacrifice a non-token creature. And there goes Dryad Arbor. Damn, there's the land drop. Now Nadu nonsense starts, and it is resolving. So let's try to formulate a new plan. Really needed 1 more turn to get to this Force of Will before that Nadu came down. I could Brazen Borrower it out of play and then Force of Will it on the way back down, but there is just another one. I'm going to bury Sheoldred, put some other card on top, and then I think, despite the awkwardness, this is still good. My opponent is going to get a card out of this from Nadu, but it removes a mana source and removes 1 mana from Gaia's Cradle. That feels good enough to do. Opponent is not attacking with Nadu. Seems like they are stuck on mana. That is Gaia's Cradle for a mana. And then opponent is going for Court of Calling for their other combo piece. And I will simply say no to that. I might be Brazen Borrowing Nadu out of play to deny Gaia's Cradle mana again. Start here. Don't like those cards. That doesn't do anything immediately. It is a strong card. Alright, target Nadu. That's a green sun, so that will be a mana source. That can be green sun for Dryad Arbor, but I'm not dying immediately. The opponent's got green sun and Chord and Nature's Rhythm as way to tutor up combo pieces. Ooh, not going for green sun for Dryad Arbor. Maybe there's not another one. Got it. Brainstorm. Back 1 and 2. Fetch. Grab a basic on the off chance that that becomes relevant. And in for 2. Opponent's at 16. And yeah, they might not have the second Dryad Arbor. And if they miss on land again, that's probably not great. They could turn the Earth and shuffle their Dryad Arbor back into their deck. And that is exactly what is happening. 3 mana sources back into the deck. Alright, Misty Rainforest for turn. Mana is not going to be a bottleneck for long. Ooh, that's Nomads, and I know my opponent has Nadu. So I need to top deck a removal spell. Opponent can get Sylvan Safekeeper here? Yes. No, it is Noble Hierarch instead. Alright, we're getting in there. Ooh, opponent lets me get this Goyf hit in. Elfalstrix is a redraw. I am happy to do. Bloodstained Mire. There's Tameo. And I'll pass the turn here. Opponent plays another land and goes for the Nadu, and I don't have anything at this point. I imagine that I am now dead. I have a pretty good board, but my opponent's not drawing cards for Bowmaster purposes. They'll be able to have chump blockers for Goyfs, I think. Elfalstrix and Tameo are moderately annoying. There's Endurance coming down, which gets to not really shrink my Goyf, actually. There's Nature's Rhythm now. It has Harmonize, which is like a flashback from the graveyard. And now my opponent is going to kind of go nuts. I'm not going to sit through this from here. The landfall insect interaction is kind of obnoxious, and I think my opponent has demonstrated that they've got me beat. GG's. Alright, opening hand is fine. Let's see what sort of blue deck my opponent is cooking up. That is a Delighted Halfling. This is probably a moment where I have to use a Force of Will, or I won't get to use it against the Nadu that follows this up. We are off to a very bad start, I think. My opponent did not play a mana dork that Bowmasters would trade with. And if I have to Force of Will again, they essentially have nothing going for me at that point. And I think that's the confirmation that this is indeed Nadu for sure. I can try to brainstorm for Fatal Push on my own turn instead. Like at the point where I Force of Will pitch Brainstorm, I don't know that there's a great path forward here. I'm going to look with a Surveil land real quick. That's great. I will keep that Fatal Push and use it on Delighted Halfling so that I can potentially Force of Will a Nadu. But I really don't like how this is playing out. Again, as soon as I do this, I'm down cards, and I don't have the easy sources of card advantage that a traditional control deck like this might, like things like Kaito. Yikes. Alright. I'm down 2 cards from Force of Wills, and I drew a Force of Will on top of that. I mean, I'll respond so I can use my mana, and opponent has a Force of Will there. So their future spells are now protected by Teferi and my large tap-out threats and things like Forced Fruition. Well, I mean, we'll take out a Planeswalker. That's fine. I still think we are in terrible shape. There's going to be Nadu and some number of cantrips or tutors for Nadu, including some that don't draw cards. Opponent finds Nomads. I'll play that in case I need to play another land to hardcast a Force of Will next turn. This is the more interactive version of the deck. My opponent last round was very much trying to goldfish, whereas my opponent this round is trying to interact and stop me from interacting. Alright. We have drawn all 4 Force of Wills, and we are in the very awkward window where I am at 4 mana, so if I have to Force of Will something like a Nadu, I do have to pitch cast. Looks like opponent is just passing the turn, though. Alright, well, we have 2 hardcast Force of Wills. Opponent will probably grab a Surveil land at end of turn. And we're just staring at each other. So, I don't even know if I fucking play this card. It's just going to eat Swords to Plowshares for 1 mana. And I'm not willing to Force of Will to protect it because I am very scared of my opponent's combo finish. Alright, no, I think it's a mistake to cast this card. And by extension, a mistake to use that fetch land preemptively. Your Brainstorm is fine. This is game 1? This is game 1. Alright, I'll take some Containment Priest hits for a little while. This now leaves me in a very awkward position with this card. Now I am getting beaten down. Maybe I now just need to cast this. It's not like I'm going to get to 8 natural mana here. That's fine. Finding Nadu. Alright. Again, very awkward spot where now if my opponent puts Nadu on the stack, I have to pitch cast Force of Will because I tapped out for this. I didn't eat immediate Swords to Plowshares though, so that's nice. Alright, Force of Will. Opponent forces back. And I know they have Nomads. Cool. So now my opponent gets 6 activations now at minimum, plus more on their own turn. I'm done here. So again, I can't help my opponent put in their own combo. I have to play a mid-range deck for this round. Oh, I did not cut one show and tell. There we go. Oh, this is fine. I'll keep this one. Our cantrips are a little pressed in that we need to probably both find land and removal. Land and discard? Land and discard is fine. There's a tapped land for turn 1. We're not facing down double Delighted Halfling this time, which is nice. Opponent does keep their card. Let's Thoughtseize immediately. Oh boy. I could take Swords and try to stick the Goyf. The Teferi can bounce it. I can't take my opponent off of Nadu's here. I might be taking swords and bouncing, or sorry, and countering to fairy. Now I'd like to find my next land. Those are not lands. Let's shuffle this. I hit a land. There's the Misty that we know about. That is the rare Fair Thassa's Oracle, just played out as a 1/3. Look at the top couple cards of deck. Ooh, that feels better than the other things I can do with my turn. Now we potentially keep Fairy from being a problem in the short term. Thassa's Oracle does not attack in. Great, I can now tap out for an actual threat. I will absolutely Force of Will to protect this, given circumstances. I'll pitch Lorien Revealed here. Opponent gets one chomp block with it before this gets to start running away with the game. Delighted Halfling is one of the 2 mana sources to get to this stuff. Let's brainstorm. I know the Force of Will is now not good in the face of Delighted Halfling mana. I think I'm going to put back Sheoldred, Force, go to Punchies, send in the Goyf. Opponent takes the block so I don't get the card. Now I'm going to go ahead and fetch to clear, get Underground Sea, play Baleful Strix, trying to hit Fatal Push. Did not succeed. So I will make a Tamiyo. And if opponent hits their next land drop, they get to just put their combo piece in play. They don't, but this should do it. It gets a Surveil land. I am going to get a few looks at cards that disrupt what's going on here. Basic Island is not it. Send in. Opponent takes 5. Say yes. We'll get a new Goyf. I will crack a Clue token. That's not good. I will play a new Goyf. So the ultimate fear is land drop, Nomads, and Nadu. There is the Nadu, which is uncounterable. There's the Nomads. We'll see if I am literally or effectively dead. I have some pretty good bodies on board. I'm going to give you the end of turn update. Alright. Opponent has passed the turn at this point. They get a whole nother set of activations. So here we go. Get through this shit again. Alright, send in with everything. Opponent somehow did not hit Swords to Plowshares. If I don't counter that, that's just 2 more looks. I'm going to use my counterspell on a card that I am legally allowed to use it on. And I'm not going to pay for it because I would like to crack this Tamiyo clue. Alright, yeah, no, you just have your own force. Cool and fun and enjoyable. Caracas and another land. Opponent fetches. Opponent fetches again. Guess I should not be auto-yielding because I can draw with a clue at some point. How about right now? A new Containment Priest, sure. 2 more activations. Fetch. Brainstorm. At your land. Alright, there we go. Opponent goes to 5. I'll play an Undercity Sewers. I don't have Revolt for that. That's not actually all that good if it doesn't answer the Nadu, which I guess Caracas stops it from anyway. Let's assume that I need something cooler than that. I think I am just dead. Like, my opponent gets just so much value from all of these cards. You know what? I'm gonna value my own enjoyment here. This is miserable to play against. I'm going to tap out here. GG. Well, we tried, but not one time did we line up Show and Tell and Forced Fruition. Or rather, we had them in hand at some point, and I think once we could not cast it because my opponent was winning on board, and the other time it got disrupted via discard or a counterspell or whatever. I think the general deck building theory was sound. Play good blue-black cards, plus a bunch of Death Touchers to support not dying into fair creatures when I play Forced Fruition. And then we played against Storm, Nadu, Nadu. And this deck lined up so poorly against those. And then in the first round when we played against Dimir Tempo, we were playing a very similar deck, except I had 8 dead cards and they didn't. And it was very noticeable. Forced Fruition is not a card that you should be playing in Legacy. We knew that from the time the challenge was issued. If you want to do something like this, you can do something very similar to this by just playing Echo of Eons and like not have to get the show and tell involved. And then, it becomes more reasonable to do like LED Echo shenanigans off of artifact mana while playing Sheoldred and Bowmasters. But as a heads up, those decks did not have much staying power in Legacy either. It was just clunky. If I was going to do this again, and I don't think I would maybe consider about 2 Force of Negations for the sideboard, or some other spell-based combo card, Flusterstorms, things of that ilk. But generally speaking, I'm going to give this one a thumbs down. And Donor, we tried. We tried to make Forced Fruition work. This was my best effort. I let this one sit at the top of the queue for a while, kind of ruminating on how to make it work. And this was the thing that I thought would do it best. But the bar for Legacy is very, very high right now, as is seen by the main deck Containment Priests and whatever that green Pseudo-Memories Journey type card was. Metagame is not healthy. And when the metagame is not healthy, it is often a bad time to be trying to do the jank, because the decks that compete in these unhealthy metagames tend to be either very fast combo decks, your Oops All Spells, your Storm combos, that sort of stuff, or your decks that are just doing something inherently unfair. And the unfair thing that we are doing at 6 mana or kind of 3 mana is just not good enough. And with that, I'm going to call it a day. I hope this was enjoyable, despite the fact that we didn't do the thing. We'll try again tomorrow with something else sweet. See ya!